Thank you so much. The powerhouse, Esther Benyogo, leading us in the recitation of the anthem of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you all, distinguished guests. Will you please take your seats? Good morning, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to day two of Elevate Africa convening. I think that deserves a round of applause. Yesterday was an experience. It was a charge to take action. It was an opportunity for us to redefine and own the narrative on the Africa we see. And today we consolidate on the wins and the gains from yesterday's event to build, particularly from a perspective of culture, art, entertainment, from Africa to the world. My name is Ayon Myre Esse, and as always, it's an honor to serve as co-host for today.
I am Ben 200, half human, half amazing. It's an honor also to be working with you today. We especially welcome one who are taking time to personally be here with us, His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, His Excellency Mr. Babajide Fanu-Olu. Please put your hands together for him. You're welcome.
Thank you very much for coming, Mr. Governor. That's the governor of my state, so I'm very partial. Center of Excellence, City of Aquatic Splendor. Thank you very much for coming, Mr. Governor. Of course, we'd like to recognize and celebrate very specially our chief host for today, Her Royal Majesty, Olori Atuwashe III, the Queen Consort of Warri Kingdom.
I also specially welcome a very renowned world-class speaker of Nigerian origin, founder and CEO of the Gemstone Group, Mr. Fela Durotoye. You're welcome, sir.
Yesterday, we were honored to have with us in our midst some distinguished speakers, and today they've joined us for day two of the convening, and we're really grateful that they've been able to take out time to be with us today. We're still expecting some more of our guests from yesterday, and we look forward to receiving them. Can we please recognize Representative Kim Schofield, member of the Georgia House of Representatives, United States of America? It's good to see you again, ma'am. We also have with us Mr. Tim Hansted, Vice Chairman, Chandler Foundation, Singapore. Thank you for joining us again this morning. We also have some of our guests seated around the hall, our speakers, panelists, and in the course of today's event, we will do well to honor and acknowledge them and give a proper introduction to them. We also see one of Nigeria's finest in the art and entertainment scene, Ms. Hilda Dokubo.
And we also especially appreciate our audience, particularly those who are online. They've been with us from yesterday. And thank you. You've joined us since 8 a.m. and be waiting for these proceedings. We appreciate also all of you for being a part of what we're doing.
Well, today we're going to move very swiftly. It's a packed day. However, we're looking to make it very punchy, succinct, and powerful. If you're not following us yet, we'd like to encourage you to please follow us on Instagram and social media platforms at We Elevate Africa. For those who are unable to be here physically, please help share and spread the good news of what's happening here by sharing the YouTube page, which is Elevate Africa, as we're streaming live. Talking about yesterday, we would like to show you a quick recap of some of the highlights of what took place yesterday. Again, it's just, I know we don't need any refreshing because the words will remain with us for a very long time, but we thought it would be important, particularly for those who didn't have the opportunity to be with us physically here yesterday, just to see a little bit of what happened yesterday as we set the tone for today. Please turn your attention to the screen, a recap of yesterday.
Now, you know that moment when you hear a particular accent in a movie and your brain instantly switches to, here comes the villain. Or when they mention an African country and you brace yourself, knowing that the narrative that they're about to push is not a very good one. You see, His Majesty is quite the storyteller, and every time you watch movies, he's able to predict the end right from the beginning. And that's the power of storytelling. Now, I want to flip the script. Think about the city that pops to mind when I say romance, or countries that you associate with first-rate education or excellent healthcare. We all have clear mental images, don't we? Yes, we have issues, but show me a continent that doesn't. We are more than our issues. You've heard it say that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, then it will take all of us in this room and beyond to raise our continent to her destined greatness. So I invite you all today to join us as we invest in African ideas, as we invest in African solutions, and as we invest in African stories. Together, unstoppably, we will create the Africa we see.
I thought we should clap for that. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, coming up next is the Forbes Coaches Council member who will be doing for us a very detailed, a more detailed recap and to introduce to us a little about our fellowship. Let's welcome the CEO of Aking Bello Learning and Development Company, Dr. Aking Bello. Please put your hands together for him.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Mr. Governor himself, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, we honor you to be here. Her Royal Majesty, the Queen Consort of Warri, Olori Atuwashe III, we welcome you. I want to also appreciate Mr. Felado Toye for being here this morning and all our guests. I'm here to just do a recap of what happened at the conference yesterday, and this is the summary briefing. The Elevate Africa Convening 2024 commenced with Daniel Ikunebo, the co-founder of ACE Analytics, delivering a powerful opening address on behalf of His Majesty and Her Royal Highness. He highlighted that Elevate Africa is not just a movement, but a transformative call to action aimed at reshaping Africa and the world. Daniel emphasized Africa's potential in global markets underscored by its natural resources, which is vast, human capital, and the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. He stressed the importance of unity, integrity, and the reclamation of Africa's narrative from external influences. Following this opening speech, Her Royal Majesty Olori Atuwashe III delivered an inspiring vision, casting message, calling for a shift in how Africa is portrayed globally. She critiqued the external false narratives dominated by Western media and urged Africans to take control of their own stories. Highlighting the continent's resilience, innovation, and cultural richness, she positioned Elevate Africa as a pan-African initiative designed to foster collaboration amongst nations. She pointed out the significance of initiatives like Augmented European Tech Solution for the Blind as examples of homegrown solutions that need support and global recognition. Olori Atuwashe III outlined three pillars of Elevate Africa. Number one, convening, a platform for developing actionable solutions. Number two, fellowships, programs aimed at nurturing African leaders with skills to address the continent's challenges. Three, media, focused on rewriting the African narrative by telling authentic stories of African innovation and leadership. Then we proceeded, we had goodwill messages. First from Rep, House of Rep member, Kim Schofield, delivered a powerful message elevating Africa as a transformative movement that extends beyond just a platform to become a force for unity, innovation, and resilience. He emphasized, she emphasized that Africa's greatest asset lies in its people, creativity, and capacity for leadership. Schofield stressed the need for Africans to take control of their narrative by celebrating the continent's achievements, strength, and potential. Her message underscored the importance of partnerships that foster progress, urging a collective focus on reshaping Africa's global message. She concluded with a call to action stating, when one rises, we all rise, highlighting the necessity for continuous alignment and partnership to elevate Africa on the world stage. Immediately after that, Her Excellency Atiepete Jahaga emphasized Africa's immense potential to reshape its narrative, drawing parallels between our presidential Kosovo's journey and Africa's efforts to overcome global stereotypes. She praised the continent's youth and women as key drivers of innovation and change, calling for leadership that prioritizes inclusivity and empowerment. The Haga encouraged African leaders to trust their instincts, embrace people-centered governance, and lead with authenticity. She concluded with a vision of Africa as a continent full of untapped opportunities, a continent of limitless potential. Representing Nigeria's First Lady, Hajia Nana Shatima, spoke passionately about the dawn of a new era for Africa, focusing on the role of the youth in driving innovation and progress. She announced initiatives like the 3 million tech fund and national loan scheme aimed at empowering young Africans to develop creative solutions to the continent's challenges. The message was a call for the youth to lead the change towards a prosperous Africa, highlighting their potential to transform the continent into a hub of technological and economic innovation. Immediately after that, we had the First Lady of Kwara State, Olufolake Abdulrazak. She highlighted the potential of Africa's youth, describing it as the continent's greatest asset. She praised initiatives like the Kwara Learn program for integrating technology into education, equipping students with the skills necessary to solve Africa's unique challenges. The First Lady emphasized that by 2050, Africa's youthful energy will be the driving force behind its global leadership, urging continued investment in education and technology to fully harness this potential. Then we proceeded straight into the first panel session where we were talking about elevated leadership for Africa's future. This was moderated by the senior editor CNN Africa, Stephanie Busari. In that panel session, Our Excellency Amina Gurib Faki emphasized mobilizing science, technology, and education as tools for economic growth. She called for reforms to address Africa's brain drain and prepare its youth for the global stage. Dr. Walton Ekudayo Gilpin highlighted the need for unified leadership to overcome Africa's internal divisions. He called for collaboration across sectors to drive inclusive economic development. Tim Hanston discussed the importance of changing the global perception of Africa from a continent of problems to one of potential and opportunity. He stressed that good governance and youth investment are keys to this transformation. Then we have the Lord Mayor from Uganda, Fabrice Rulinda, urged a shift from policy discussion to concrete actions, emphasizing the need for our political leaders to serve the public rather than personal gain. Key takeaways from that personal session: unified vision and leadership. Number two, education and technology, collaboration and accountability. Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, represented by Dr. Abdul Kapmara, highlighted Africa's Development Bank's commitment to enhancing trade and regional integration under the High Five agenda. Light up Africa, feed Africa, industrialize Africa, integrate Africa, and improve the quality of life for Africans. Immediately after that, we moved into the second panel session, which was moderated by Adesua Okuboros, focused on strategies to elevate African trade. And here we dealt with elevating the African trade. In this panel session, we have Dr. Melinda Brown, and she emphasized the vital role of African diaspora in fostering strong relations and driving economic development. Sarah Maka discussed the significance of viewing Africa as a unified trading bloc, noting that with its 1.5 billion people, Africa represents a vast interconnected market that together could rival other global economies like the EU and China if internal divisions are bridged. We have Juanita Shepard. She called for transformation in the perception of Africans from a continent that is merely resource rich to one that plays a vital role in global trade and innovation. Dr. Jane Kimemia underscored the importance of focusing on Africa's youthful demographic as a key driver for economic growth. She advocated for leveraging informal markets and local entrepreneurs, especially women, to build resilient economies that can sustain long-term development. The key highlights from that panel session. Number one, regional integration. Number two, youth empowerment. Number three, diaspora engagement. Number four, changing the global narrative. Then we had a goodwill message and closing remark. Debola Williams highlighted Africa's tremendous potential in emphasizing that by 2050, the continent will be the youngest and most populous on on the planet. Debola Dejikurumi echoed previous conversations and built on them by urging Africans to consider data-driven, evidence-backed evaluations to understand the continent's privileges and strengths. The key recommendation and action points from yesterday. Number one, unite as one continent. Africa must break down the barrier of language, culture, and political differences to create a unified vision for development. Number two, revolutionize education to ignite innovation. The continent needs to transform its education system to focus on skills that drive innovation such as technology, robotics, and entrepreneurship. Number three, strengthening collaboration between public and private sectors. Africa must foster stronger partnership between government and private sector to drive economic growth. Number four, define Africa's global narrative. Global attention and investment. Number five, invest in Africa's youth and women. Africa must focus on empowering its youth as leaders and entrepreneurs while ensuring that women play a significant and central role in economic activities. Number six, engage the African diaspora as partners in progress. The continent needs to harness the skills, knowledge, and resources of the Africa's diaspora to boost trade and investment. Next, boost intra-African trade and regional value chains. Africa must prioritize trading within its borders by developing regional value chains that utilize each country's strength. This approach will reduce dependence on external market, keep wealth within the continent, and create a more self-sufficient economy. Eight, modernize infrastructure and trade policies. The continent needs to upgrade its infrastructure and streamline trade policies to make it easier for goods, for services, and people to move across African countries. Investing in better logistics, transportation, digital networks is crucial to supporting regional integration. And the last point there is holding leaders accountable for good governance. The continent must upgrade its infrastructure and streamline trade policies to make it easier for goods, services, and people to move across African countries. Investing in better logistics, transportation, and digital network is crucial to supporting regional integration. In conclusion, day one of the Elevate Africa convening laid a solid foundation for reshaping Africa's leadership. The discussion highlighted the urgency of Africa's story, fostering collaboration across sectors. Thank you. You're welcome, sir. So in conclusion, day one of the Elevate Africa convening, let's put our hands together. Thank you. In conclusion, day one of the Elevate Africa convening laid a solid foundation for reshaping Africa's leadership. The discussions highlighted the urgency of telling Africa's own story, fostering collaboration across sectors, and empowering the next generation to take charge of its continent's destiny, setting the stage for a future where Africa emerges not just as a participant, but as a leader on the global stage. His Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to Elevate Africa Convening Day 2. Please have a beautiful deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Akinpelu, for that detailed recap of proceedings from day one of Elevate Africa, the convening. Your Excellency, Your Royal Majesty, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, whilst he was speaking, we warmly received the presence of His Royal Majesty, Ogiame Atuashe III CFR. Please, can we recognize and celebrate him? Our chief host. Thank you very much, sir. And yesterday we'd spoken at length, but not enough, about his support for not just and his burden and passion for Africa, but also for the girl child and for gender equity. Interestingly, yesterday was International Day of the Girl Child, so it was fitting that we've had such an event happen and seen women. Oh, it's actually today. Okay, so today is International Day of the Girl Child. And so it's actually fitting that we've seen both men and women showcased so brilliantly and excellently at Elevate Africa, the convening day. So I think that deserves another round of applause. Thank you. Very quickly, talking about gender equity and personalities, whether royal fathers or politicians who fully support women. The next person I'd be inviting to the podium to give his goodwill message is a man like that. Earlier on, I proudly said that I am from the Center of Excellence. I will never stop, I will not be shy of saying that I'm part Lagos, part Edo State, proudly so, and by marriage, Isoko Delta State. So a fantastic mix, if you asked me. But I'd like to introduce at this point for his goodwill message, a man who's referred to as Mr. Sellable, Mr. Infrastructure. You can clap at this point if you want to. The one who is the brain behind the Blue Line Rail, Red Line Rail completion in Lagos State. And that's why he's referred to as Mr. Talk and Do. Only very recently, he's done something that is supposed to be the biggest or the largest children's hospital in sub-Saharan Africa with the new Massey Children's Hospital. And only yesterday, he had gone on inspection personally to ensure that the work is being done excellently. Talking about telling again the narrative of Africa, especially the good work that is being done on the continent. And so please, can you join me in receiving and welcoming to the stage His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu. A round of applause, please, as he comes to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much. His Royal Majesty, the 21st Olu of Warri Kingdom, Ogiame Atuashe III, CFR, I warmly greet you, acknowledge your sterling leadership in our traditional institution and how you transform and you're transforming this very noble part of what Africa is to the world. Thank you very much, Ogiame. And of course, to your delectable Mabru, Her Royal Majesty, the Queen Consort of the Warri Kingdom, Olori Atuashe III. Thank you for the support you continue to give to the Olu of Warri. To very many distinguished speakers that are here this morning, especially one of Africa's best out of Nigeria, Mr. Fela Durotoye. It's nice to see you again. Thank you very much. It deserves also all of the applause. I know that if it was just about who has the largest applause, they are settling on me because Ms. Dakubo got the loudest, acknowledgement when all of the recognitions were being given. It goes to show that there's power in number in the sector and in diversity that she represents. So I want to acknowledge you again. Thank you very much. Thank you. To all of the guest speakers, to audience here this morning, including Ayo, who continue to have, the key to Lagos. We've missed you on your early morning show yesterday and today. Now we know where you are. And really to Akin, who brings a real big freshness, to what we're discussing here. Incidentally, his mom actually is my distant cousin. And so it's nice to really see you again. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen of the press. It's clear that I actually missed yesterday. Given what I listened to what Akin had said, given the sheer number of participants and the quality of the output and their conversations yesterday, we should have rescheduled me to have been part. But you see, you are keeping the best for the second day. So indeed, it's an honor. Don't worry, we'll tell them, the ones yesterday, that the second day was actually a lot better than the one. So it's indeed an honor to have been here, you esteemed audience, to be part of this very important event, which I believe will indeed help to signpost and set, a trajectory of new leadership, of new frontiers, new conversations in Africa. The Elevate Africa Global Convening. And of course, with the theme, Africa we see. We believe the theme is not only timely, we believe it's also inspiring. And it reflects a growing movement that will reshape our continent. It will shape all the narratives and unlock the full potential that is in Africa. But more importantly, also listening to which are some of the things that we'll talk about, what Akin has enumerated. I believe that, the timing, and the quality of the audience and the participation, right, deserves another round of applause, being given to the Queen Consort. I must commend her, and I must commend His Royal Majesty as well, for creating this critical platform through the power of media storytelling. You could listen to her yesterday. It was very strong. Storytelling. Elevate Africa is helping to foster a dignified, empowered, and a collaborative Africa. This convening offers a unique opportunity for multi-level knowledge exchange, strategic partnership, and promotion of indigenous solutions, which are key to our social economic advancement. Today, Africa stands on the cusp of a transformation, one led by the ingenuity and the resilience of its people. Africa, we see, is not a continent defined by its challenges, but by the boundless opportunity. And I think these points were made by several speakers yesterday, given the tone of the conversation, that indeed not in the challenges that we see in Africa, but it is in the level of opportunities that are abound. It is the level of a youth population that are not just innovative, that are creative, they are ready to take on the world. It is an Africa where we take control of our narratives. And I think those are some of the points that even the conversation yesterday, alluded to, where our stories of innovation, our stories of culture, which clearly was demonstrated here this morning, which I'm truly, really proud of, to be an African, a political leader. And that culture, it's being demonstrated even in this small, important audience here. And that's who we are. And that's who we continue to tell the world that we are. We should never shy from that. And of course, the progress that are shared globally. It is an Africa that thrives on collaboration, an Africa not only within the continent, but also as global partners. It's important and it's critical that Africa needs to take its place, its rightful place in global conversations. I stand here as the governor of your state, of course, your state, and several others. Security apparatus, everything were from Lagos. But I stand here as the governor of the largest Black city-state in Africa. I stand here as the leader of the largest population of any conglomerate of citizens in the world, Lagos State. A state that has uniquely, a state that has uniquely defined itself amongst its peers to stand out as a center of excellence, as a place where Africa's truest, brightest, most creative all come together, as a state that helps us truly define what the Nigerian in all of us is, because it's the chromosomes of our country, and it's also the melting point of Africa. I stand here representing over 22 million Lagosians to say to you that we're indeed happy with Elevate Africa. We're happy with the vision and the learning and the outcomes that will be coming out of this conversation. But more importantly, Lagos, that is the beacon of innovation, that is the centerpiece of development in Africa. I'm confident to say that the vision, the Africa we see, is not just a dream. It's indeed a reality and is already in motion. So my advice is that all of us must find a space in that mobility so that we're not left behind. In Lagos is a proof of that. It's a proof of what is possible, what we can achieve working together collaboratively, what we can achieve understanding what skills, what competencies are bound in each and every one of us. And indeed, a place where we commit to building a future where Africa can truly flourish. As leaders, it is our responsibility to ensure that the vision of this empowered Africa becomes a reality. I'm honored to stand along very many distinguished speakers, as we've seen yesterday, and the ones that will also come out, today, the likes of Fela, and all of the inspiring words that will be coming out, from the engagements here today. And I think the point to really, really also take away is my own note that Akin has clearly, stated out for us. If yesterday alone, we're able to clearly craft and see that we need to unite a one Africa, that is long overdue. And that is one conversation that needs to come out from the engagement today. We need to be able to strengthen the collaboration between the private sector and the public sector, like he had said, in which we that are in the public sector, some of us have also lived our life in the private sector. But we need to realize that, it's only when we share those responsibilities that we can truly have, an Africa that could be challenged, in terms of the resources that it has and be able to apply, those resources. Let's realize who has the best fit to put our best forward. Is it the private sector? Is it the public sector? And all of us understanding that we're the same coin, we're just two different sides, of the coin. To define an Africa in global space, I think that is more than important. We are not asking for arms. We're not begging for anything. We're just saying that we want true partnership. We want to have a space in the room. We want to have a seat, on every table, and want to our stories. We want our narratives, to be heard and to be lifted up. We want an Africa where we want to invest in our youth, in our women. We want to engage our diaspora, strong diaspora population that are changing the narrative globally. Nigerians are everywhere in the world, helping to recreate, to innovate. And so we need to be able to close up on all of that and bring them, into the African story. Regional integration, we keep talking about it. We need to look ourselves in the face as Africans and say to ourselves that not only when we begin to trade amongst ourselves, trade within ourselves, that the other world will not see us freely. So we need to understand and appreciate that everything we have in Nigeria must be able to sit in Cape Town, must be able to sit in Joburg, and have a space in Nairobi. That's the Africa that I believe we're all talking about. That's the Africa that Elevate Africa is talking about. Accountability as one of the last things. I stand here as a public sector person. wants to be held accountable. In everything that I do, the decisions that I make, the outcomes of the investment that I make for my people. And that is what I think is most, lacking. And not until when leaders truly, really stand accountable, knowing fully well that you've been given a secret opportunity to lead your people at a certain time. And after that, you should certainly be able to stand up and tell them what you've done, either with their resources, with their time, with their knowledge, and so that they can see that indeed Africa is moving. I want to leave here because my time is up to say that Lagos State is proud to be part of this, to also say to the Queen Consort that your next edition certainly should come to the state of excellence. It should come to the state of aquatic splendor. And to say that leading and, and shaping, what leadership in Africa is all about, is about one of the things that we have also started, a fellowship program, which we call the Latif Jakone Leadership Academy. We just graduated the first set of fellows. We started the second, in which we need to deliberately, be able to set, an agenda for the new set of leaders that will emerge, And finally, to say that, for us as a government, every fiber of strength that we have, it is to serve our people, is to be able to create opportunity for the youth, for the women, for the challenge in our environment, to be able to take them up, to be able to give them a space, to give them a voice, to give them an opportunity to excel. Because we know that in almost every Africa, there's an innovative mind, there's a creative mind, in culture, in arts, in all space of life, and that's what I believe Elevate Africa, it's all about. Once again, I want to thank and commend Royal Majesty and the supportive and the entire audience that is here. Let us not just make it a talk shop. The outcomes of this deliberation, I want to see, the final print of it. I've taken my note, and let us take it to the next level. Thank you very much, and it's been an honor to be here this morning.
Let's put our hands together for His Excellency. Was said that Lagos is a showcase. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, can we give the governor another round of applause? In a few minutes, we will listen and watch another story that will help us to truly understand what we have been doing. But like a few other people have heard, there is a king for every generation. From Nema in ancient Egypt to Sargon of Akkad, to Philip of Macedon, Augustus Caesar, Emperor Hongwu, James I, King Gregory VI, and in Africa, of course, we have our own, who's been selected specially to shift this generation. Thoughts and history kings and emperors exist virtually in every generation. Various civilizations reflected power of monarchy in global governance and generational shift. From August 2021, a new era was born. Stargazers told us that we have a new king in Africa. We thought it was just an African king. But here we are with the 21st Olu, coronated on the 21st of August 2021, to shift this generation from the 21st century and beyond. May we especially appreciate the man with this mandate, His Royal Majesty Ogame Atuwashe III, CFR, the Olu of Warri. Please put your hands together for him one more time. Your Excellency, the Governor, in a few minutes we'll show you what he has done, but we'll also, as we have committed to be part of this, whether we come to Lagos or not, we believe that you will also be a part of this. Your Excellency, we will, even if we don't have the big one in Lagos, we'll have a small one for you in the government house so that you can be part of it. But let's focus on the screen as we watch a short documentary that tells the story of work being done, lives being transformed, and a lot more that is still going to be done. Let's watch the screen.
Access to quality education is the right of every child. And Royal Warri Foundation, the humanitarian arm of Ogiame Atsuwashi III and Olori Atsuwashi III. Together, they are championing STEM education in Delta State. This second cohort of the STEM Hub Bootcamp isn't just bigger. We have also put into consideration the need for continuing education for the first cohort who were able to encounter and teach in April of this year. For this second cohort, we've also made an additional space available for 25 more kids. Yes. So in total, we have welcomed 50 children from across neighboring communities close to Iyara to come and partake of this learning for the next 5 days.
Reef Scholarship Fund is a pillar under the education arm of Real Foundation generally. What Real Foundation is doing is to see that the children from the rural areas, children that are underprivileged, their parents are usually fishermen. Most of them are in the riverine areas like Bagboro, Koko, Sapele, Omadino, Obodo, from different places all over the riverine area. So they put them together, house them, and are taking care of them here in Wari, preparing them, teaching them, so they will come to the standard of education and so they'll be able to write exams for them to go into very okay schools where other socialites and elites will be able to take their children to.
I'm Dr. Utake Owe, the medical team lead of WUO Initiative, which is the healthcare arm of the Royal Iwere Foundation, the brainchild of Our Royal Majesty Olori Atuwaje III. About a year ago, we were here in the community, just the town hall, which is just beside us now, and we had a free medical outreach event where hundreds of persons benefited from it. And I know you were one of the persons who also benefited.
I benefited through getting birth certificate for my children. With the community women and even the pregnant women, I want to even say thank you to Lori.
Over 200 children received free birth certificates, and also over 100 pregnant women got delivery packs, which was to aid them to have a safe and easy delivery at little or no expense.
1 million. Yeah, 1 million for my family. Where I come from, it's not a lot of worry. They are not even know how to take for more for the market.
Say, Daddy, you say we know. Say they will go for 1 million. Huh? How come about? How come about?
What the first thing I asked him, I said, those people, are they like you? He said, no. He said, no laying.
Really excited, overwhelmed by this news, and I still couldn't believe it. Like, yeah, winning this, like to me, like I think it's a build of my confidence in competitions to come. Yeah, and I feel this will encourage fellow visual impairment and visual impaired ones out there to be able to participate in whatsoever may be the competitions, whatever may be the contests, whatsoever may be the hackathon. So I think with this winning or this victory I got from this challenge is to encourage fellow people. My technology will be solving the case of reduction of inequality in the community. So people living with visual impairment are oftentimes sidelined in every aspect of life, be it educational or economically. So technology I'll be advising will be more of an ebook reader that will aid people living with visual impairment to read any book content, be it newspapers, be it history books, business books, so they can gain knowledge from that book and be able to participate alongside their sighted peers across every aspect. From the society I came from, Nigeria, knowing the stereotypes regarding persons with disabilities, and the facilities and equipment that are unavailable, the accommodation. I knew for me, if I wanted to actualize my dream, is traveling out to further my education, like going abroad. Thanks to the Royal Iwere Foundation, that is the RIF Foundation, the ones who made this dream real. Studying computer science in my home country would be difficult because I don't have the support. Okay, I needed to get this experience. I really, like I don't want my dream to be killed. Like I have a huge dream and I have a purpose in life that I needed to like reach out there and then know what this whole computer science stuff is all about. And when I got the scholarship, okay, I said, wow, not the best terms to like describe it at that point in time. But it was unique because so I got to travel out and study my dream course, like my dream program, like going to my dream program as a computer scientist.
My greatest surprise that within 2 months and 3 weeks, we have started harvesting cucumber in Dondomi Girls College.
First crop we planted was cucumber. We cleared, we planted, and when it started growing, the boys came and they did their fumigation to stop the insecticides from destroying the crops. Because this area, you can see now, waterlogged. We have so many insecticides. So they did that. Our first production was, wow, it was very beautiful because it was towards the dry season. But when we did our second production, it was rainy. Couldn't get much production. That was why when you see the garden now, we did corn. So that when it is dry season again, we start planting cucumber. Because the first one was cucumber and pepper that we did. We had a good production.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Welcome to Academy.
oh. This one got back to my window now. Struggling now. Oh, amazing how this world was made. I wonder if God is a woman.
The Right Foundation, we are looking to empower the minds of the youth at first, because we understand that if their minds are empowered, then the entire world can change. And
Thank you all so much. God bless you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hello. Let's put our hands together for that beautiful documentary. Your Excellency, our distinguished guest. There's a skewed narrative about Africa, and that's why we've been gathered here since yesterday. And this has instilled a low self image amongst young people. The statistics are there to show it. About 443 million Africans, they live in extreme poverty, less than $1.9 a day. 60% of Africans lack access to basic sanitation. 48% of African children, they are not completing secondary school. And you find this on UNESCO 2022 Bureau statistics. But here in Africa, if you look at the agri-tech sector, it was valued to contribute about $2.6 billion in 2021 and is poised for significant growth. The tourism sector, 169 billion to Africa's GDP in 2021. We can talk about this in Nollywood, media and entertainment, renewable energy that gave about $14 billion in investment in 2022. Today, as the envoy of His Majesty Ogiami Atuashe III, CFR, and Olori Atuashe III, the Queen Consort, I want to introduce to you a transformative initiative that embodies the spirit of everything that Elevate Africa stands for, which is called the Elevate Africa Fellowship. You want to put your hands together. This fellowship is more than just a program, but a bold step to raise a new generation of leaders across the continent. It's designed to raise exceptional individuals who are already making waves in their communities in business and governance. These leaders understand Africa's future, which depends on innovation, collaboration, and a deep sense of responsibility to the next generation. Through this fellowship, we're bringing together the brightest minds across the continent, men and women who represent diversity and the strength of Africa. They will embark on a journey of learning, exchange and collaboration, tackling some of the most pressing issues facing our continents for economic growth, social justice, climate resilience to technology. This is why the founders of Elevate Africa, Ogiamia Tuashe III, and the Queen Consort of Wari, Oloria Tuashe III, that is why they're setting up this focus on homegrown solution. The fellows will not just be taught leadership, but they'll be empowered to harness Africa's unique strength, leveraging our rich cultural heritage, our resources, and the resilience to be able to change Africa. And this is the objective, just 5. Leadership development and capacity building. Number 2, redefining Africa's narratives. Number 3, promoting Africa's solution. Number 4, building a global network. And number 5, producing thought leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, the Elevate Africa is not just about individual growth, but it's about collective progress. It's about building a network of African leaders that will elevate one another, elevate their communities and the continent at large. And together, we want to pave the way for an African that stands strong on the global stage. So we introduce to you this agenda called the Elevate Africa Fellowship. And we want you to study it, expose yourself to it, collaborate, participate, and let's transform the world through the agenda of Africa. We believe that Africa is rising. So, ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Elevate Africa Fellowship. Let's put our hands together. So, respectfully, I would like to bring before the Elevate African Fellowship element for an official opening of that. I'd like to invite our dignitaries this morning, respectfully, His Excellency, Mr. Governor Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu. Let's put our hands together for him. Our founder, Ogiame Atuashe III, CFR. Let's put our hands together for our founder. Respectfully, Olori Atuashe III. Please keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping. I'd like to bring upstage Mrs. Deria Wosika. Please keep clapping. We'd like Tim Handstands to also join us. Please come. Please keep clapping. Mrs. Dokubo, please join us.
This will be the first step towards the future.
Respectfully, Mr. Philando Toye, please. Let's put our hands together for him. Kim Schofield, can we have you? Kim Schofield. Thank you, ma. So today, we start a journey to unveil a fellowship for the entire African continent. And it's just a privilege to be able to do this. And we would like His Excellency on one side to please hold, and our founder, Ogiame Atuashe III, as they unveil. Let's put our hands together for this. This is what will transform Africa. Keep clapping, keep clapping. Get ready for a new generation of young people that will transform the entire continent. Are you really excited? Put your hands together. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Let's put our hands together for our dignitaries.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, very quickly we'll be going into our speaking sessions. And it's important that we allow His Excellency, who has another important assignment. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We are honored to have you, and we appreciate your presence. Please put your hands together for him. Thank you very much. Her Royal Majesty will take one quick picture, and then we'll come back and continue. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for her as she goes back to her seat. Well, our clapping is different this morning. I'll do a simple clap exercise. I'll just count 1 to 3 and say go and expect us to clap once. Is it possible? 1, 2, 3. Okay, I didn't say go. Can we try it one more time? 1, 2, 3. I still didn't say go. So let's try it one last time. 1, 2, 3, go. What that says is that for the average human being, you have to tell him something at least 3 times for the person to understand it. The person I'm about to invite has many years talking, but she goes straight to the point and she has just one opportunity to tell us very, very important things. May I especially appreciate and welcome one who owns is a fellow of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria and a fellow of the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacy. She holds a doctorate in pharmaceutical technology. A distinguished guest, ladies and gentlemen, former chairperson of the Access Bank. Let's welcome Honorary Consul to Czech Republic, Dr. Dere Awushika, OON, MFR, MNR. Please put your hands together for her as she comes up. Thank you very much, ma'am. Please, let's clap properly now. If you keep clapping, it will look like she's here already.
His Royal Majesty, the Atu Ashe III, the Olu of Warri, the Queen Consort, an innovative one, taken after the examples of the globe, after the nations of the world that recognize that the palace has to take a place in the affairs of mankind as designed by God. I humbly greet everyone on this very exciting, because I feel excited, auspicious, and special occasion. And I'd like to salute industry luminaries that are here, esteemed guests, people who believe in change, fellow change makers. Again, my king, the Queen Consort, that have received the inspiration to drive this noble theme, the Africa we see. The Africa we see. I repeat, I want to follow the MC 3 times. He said for the average person, you have to say it 3 times. The Africa we see. This occasion spells unity. It progressed faith in God, faith in Africa as God's creation for the development of mankind. To this end, I would like to extend a warm welcome to other esteemed speakers. Bienvenue to His Excellency Amina Gurib Fakim, the former president of Mauritius. Welcome to Your Excellency in absentia or online, Joel Taylor, former vice president of Liberia. Karibu, Excellency Rachel Chebet Ruto, First Lady of Kenya. Welcome, Dr. Walton Ekundayo Gilpin, the CEO of Rokel Commercial Bank, Sierra Leone. I welcome every other person that is representing one aspect of the nations of Africa, be it across Uganda, and people that are here also from other parts of the country, like Georgia in United States. We are all one people of the globe. And of course, I want to also welcome and say Ekabo, since we're in Abuja, and say this to the managing director of Parallels Bank and all other distinguished personalities that are here and are online with us today. I hope the people from outside the country, you are adjusting well to our weather. One of the blessings in Africa. Sometimes it can be unpredictably hot, but I can assure you, beyond the weather, the warmth of the people of Africa does make up for everything. We are one people. I want to thank you very much for inviting me, Your Royal Majesty and the Queen Consort. It's an absolute honor to stand before you all today, not just as a keynote speaker, but I'm undeniably a proud African. I'm a very proud African. I'm proud at our history, proud at our resilience. No other continent will go through what we go through and remain the way we are. We're sure very resilient people. And the remarkable progress we continue to make. We may complain, but we have made some progress. I'm also proud of the diverse cultures and boundless potential that define this continent. Whether you go to South Africa, to West Africa, to East Africa, to North Africa, beautiful people, beautiful culture, exemplary in every way that God has put it. And so today we gather to celebrate that pride and to collectively reshape our narrative so that the world will see us as God has made us to be. Before I continue, I would like to extend my most sincere, heartfelt gratitude to the conveners of this event. It can only be inspired of God. Elevate Africa. For providing this platform and for their tireless efforts in shaping the narrative of a great continent beyond Nigeria, even though they are Nigerians. That's what we did. Perhaps we'll stop talking about I'm Chekiri, I'm Igbo, I'm Hausa, I'm Yoruba, and start speaking about I'm African. Just like people from the United Kingdom don't come and tell you I'm Scottish. They say I'm British. Your dedication, leveraging on the power of the media, you have created a space where Africa's rich history, vibrant culture, and indigenous solutions are not only celebrated, but amplified for the world to see. The world is waiting for us to tell it. They don't know it. They want you to say it. What do you say? And what do you see? Your work is essential in fostering a positive self-identity among young Africans, encouraging them to embrace their heritage and take pride in the unique stories that make up the fabric of our continent. I specifically mention young Africans because they are happy to change their tonation. Perhaps it's easier to communicate. But also this school in the UK, I didn't have to change my tonation, and they hear me quite clearly the way I speak. Elevate Africa's commitment to inspiring a new generation of African leaders and thinkers. Thinkers. As a man thinketh, so he is. It's not only visionary, but aligns perfectly with Africa's broader development goals, including Agenda 2030 and Agenda 2063. I'll just divert a bit. Recently, I was in Czech Republic. And the president called the meeting of the honorary consul. And what we were discussing was their agenda for 2030. And I told the ambassador, I don't have the Nigeria agenda. And I'm here. Okay, I'm going to steal some. I'm going to take it back. But now we have a chance to look at Africa for 2030 and 2063 by showcasing the true potential of Africa and working to ensure that its contributions are recognized globally. Please, I want to emphasize the word working to ensure its contributions are recognized globally, not grumbling to ensure, not complaining to ensure, not taking being ensured as a right, but working to ensure. We must work to earn. Your Royal Majesty and Queen Consort, with due respect and with great honor and glory to God, you are paving the way for a future where Africa stands tall on the world stage. Thank you for leading this charge and for your unwavering commitment to empowering Africa through storytelling. Let me ask you this. When a young African child, whether at home or in diaspora, turns on the TV and watches a broadcast about Africa, what do they see? What do they see? Whether they're in Nigeria, or they're in UK, or they're in China, and they're watching a program on the telly, what do they say? What do they see about Africa? And what about the rest of the world? Do they see the vibrant streets of Lagos, alive with entrepreneurial spirit? Do they see the innovation hubs in Nairobi, where tech solutions are shaping the future? The breathtaking landscapes of Cape Town, or the rich cultural heritage that flows through every corner of the continent? Do they see these things? They definitely don't. Or do they see the same stale images of struggle, of poverty, of hunger, conflict, and insecurity? Unfortunately, for far too many people across the globe, when they think of Africa, they still see a place overshadowed by its challenges, a continent defined only by its hardships. That is about to change. But what about the beauty? What about the creativity? What about the innovation? What about the resilience, the joy? Africa is so much more than struggles. We are a continent of vibrant cultures, groundbreaking ideas, and untold stories of success and strength. Let's tell them. Today, we gather to continue shifting that perception, to reclaim our narrative and tell the full, authentic story of whom we are, not lies, just the truth. Africa is not just a land of challenges, but a place of immense potential, resilience, and strength. If it were just a land of challenges, we will not be here. We'll be gone. We'll all be gone. Africa has always been a land of untold stories. Several ancient civilizations, vast wealth, and cultural brilliance. And we also know that history has not always been kind to us because we don't write it. They write it for us. And people write from the perspective they know. Don't blame anyone. Go and write your own. Our past has been marked by colonization. Okay, we're not the only one colonized. Exploitation. We're not the only one exploited. Which not only cost us a lot of resources, but in some cases deprive us of ability to tell our stories. Now we have a platform. Are you going to ignore it? Will you contribute to make a change? Africa's spirit is unbreakable. And today we see a continent rising, transforming, and reclaiming its voice. That's what we see. The Africa I see the Africa you see. Today is full of promise. It is an Africa that is young, vibrant, and poised for greatness. However, the rest of the world start to view us as we view ourselves. We must start to purposefully project positivity. We're too negative. We can't afford to be negative. To achieve this, the power of the media cannot be overstated. And this is why and where I would like to focus the cross of the message for the keynote address. The media can shape perceptions. They can define narratives and influence global opinion. We have brilliant media people, really brilliant, articulate, forward-looking, with great recognition globally. It becomes your auction to take this and do something for your nation beyond reporting. For centuries, the narrative of Africa has largely been written by those outside it, just from the way they see it. Don't blame them. These stories, though often based on fragments of truths, half-truths, incomplete. You know the complete one. You know the diversity. You understand the beauty. You understand innovation and progress of modern Africa. I believe today is the responsibility of our media to reshape that narrative in Africa. Then you asked me, and I asked also when I was writing this, how? There has to be a how. If there's no how, you cannot do. The how leads you to the strategic approach to bringing forth the change. I call the number one how as harnessing the power of storytelling, something we grew up with. At its core, media is about storytelling. The stories we choose to tell or omit have the power to shape perception and realities. We can do this through films, normal journalism, documentaries, social media, and other platforms. The media is a mirror of society, reflecting our values, challenges, the triumphs we have, the dreams. But for too long, we've told stories about Africa. There has been one-dimensional Africa that has often been cast as a land of challenges, problems to be solved, rather than continent of solutions. Always problems to be solved. Are we the only one that have problems in the world? It's not so. Everywhere has problems. Name the nation in the world. There's no nation without problem. There's no nation without challenge. But they choose to look for the solutions to their challenges. With thus, our stories must move from conflict in our communities, struggle, and focus on the strength. As a result, both Africans and those outside Africa have been conditioned to see this country through the narrow lens. Now let's change our lenses. However, we have the power to change that narrative through the lens that would see Africa. Just to divert a little bit, if you were watching Hurricane Milton, you see the eye. Am I correct? It's looking at where it's going to. We are going to the land of promise. Let our lenses change from things that are seen negative to things that see positive. Hurricane Milton is going to destroy. Yes, it needs to have a lens. So, America needed to track the eye of hurricane to be able to see where it will land and the kind of destruction with the venom that is coming with, to be able to advise. We need a lens to see the positiveness, solve the challenges, move away from the problems. They didn't move away from the challenge of Hurricane Milton. They began to design how to solve it. That must be the story of Africa. We need to tell the stories of Africa innovation, stories of African entrepreneurs from our father and our mother's time, leading way in fashion, in music, in film, stories of young Africans leveraging digital technology to drive social change, creating jobs, transforming the industry, stories of Africans breaking new grounds in medical science and engineering. These are the stories to redefine the Africa we see. And it's the media responsibility to ensure that they carry us. They are told loudly out there, boldly, truthfully, and consistently. We must challenge stereotypes. That's the number 2. Like I earlier stated, the media has an enormous influence on global perception. Whether we like it or not, the stories told by international news agencies shape the world's understanding of Africa and elsewhere. Unfortunately, these stories are often reductive, because that's what they know. It's not sometimes not outright damaging, but not complete. It is not uncommon to see Africa portrayed as a single monolithic, where all countries are grouped together under a single identity, overshadowing the uniqueness and richness of individual cultures, languages, and history. I can't remember how many times in school, when I'm asked, are you going to Africa? No, I said, just one country in Africa. I'm going to Nigeria. Africa is a continent. I don't know how many times they've asked you, you come from Africa? Yes, I come. But this is the country I come from in Africa. The African media must rise to challenge these stereotypes. We need to ensure that we offer a balanced view of our continent that is truthful, where our achievements are celebrated. It is our duty to harness the power on these platforms responsibly. And I mean the word responsibly. It's not a campaign, cheap campaign. It's not just talking and using them to uplift, inspire, and unite, or use them in a way that will divide, but use them in a way that will promote. We must commit to telling stories that reflect the truth of our continent, remove the hardships, and create hope. Not just the struggles, but the solutions. Let's tell it. We need partnerships and collaboration. We can't stay alone. We are definitely on the world map. My time is up. I'll soon finish. Thank you. I'll soon finish. I've seen it. We are reviving the narrative of Africa. It's not a task that can be done in isolation. We require collaboration between all media houses, government, private sector, civil society. We must forge partnerships, enable sharing of resources, skills, content across borders. African countries must support each other in telling their stories, whether it's through regional media alliances or joint platforms. International partnerships are very crucial. We must engage the global agencies within our sphere to influence to ensure balanced reporting on Africa and challenge the practice of parachute journalism, where foreign journalists drop in a country for a brief time, attempt to sum up the complexity in a few paragraphs and jump out, collaborating with African journalists and governments alike, international media, and offer help that will help them to offer more accurate and in-depth coverage on the continent. The 6th one is let's create a vision for the future. Ultimately, the role of the media is not just to reflect reality, but to help shape the future. The Africa we see today is a continent brimming with potential. It is a continent of innovators. As individuals, we must embrace this responsibility. Work with the press, work with all manners of people that can communicate that we have achievements and project these achievements, ensuring that they reflect not only the truth of the present, but the promise of the future. There is a great promise ahead of us on a daily basis. We must be bold, true to ourselves, in defining the Africa we see. Even bolder in showing the Africa we believe in. As I close, I'd like to share a story. I've been talking about stories. In West African folklore, there's a well-known character named Anansi, the clever spider. Anansi was not the strongest or most powerful creature, but he was known for his wit and for being cunning. One day, Anansi realized that all the stories in the world belong to the sky god, Nyame, and were locked away, inaccessible to the people of the earth. Anansi believed that these stories should not be hoarded, by one being, but it should be shared to everyone that could learn, grow, and find a place in the world. Anansi approached the sky god, and asked for the stories to be released to the people. Amused, Nyame agreed, but set forth 3 seemingly impossible tasks for Anansi to complete before he could claim the stories. He had to capture the fiercest creatures in the world. Onini the fighter, Osebo the leopard, Umoboro the hornet. Although the challenge seems insurmountable, Anansi used his intelligence and creativity to outwit each of these creatures and brought them back to the sky god. Impressed by Anansi's cleverness, Nyame gave him the stories of the world to share with the people. From that day forward, the stories were no longer held captive by a single being, belonged to everybody, free to be told, shared, and passed down through generations. That must be the story of Africa. In many ways, the story of Anansi mirrors a journey Africans are going through today. For far too long, the stories have been controlled, locked away, don't understand the true essence, etc. Let us tell the story of the Africa we see. Often limited, make it complete, not incomplete. Don't allow it to be skewed. Give understanding to external perspectives and bring them to see. Like Anansi, we must take the power in our hands and reclaim the story. God bless you.
Can we please sustain the applause until she takes her seat? Very grateful for that powerful charge. And I'm sure as she spoke, you would see in her speech some of the things that we had highlighted yesterday, the power of storytelling, harnessing storytelling, redefining our stories here on the African continent, seeing ourselves as one and being deliberate about projecting a positive image about Africa. And I'm sure that we still remain committed to our pledge to post one positive story about Africa every week. That's a commitment. All in favor, say aye. The ayes have it. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on very quickly to our panel session. But before then, I'd like to just recognize some personalities who walked in whilst the event had started. I'd like to recognize Reverend Mother Esther Ajayi, prophetess and founder of Love of Christ Generation and the Esther Ajayi Foundation. Thank you so much, Ma, for joining us. Also, we have Honorable Dayo Israel, National All Progressives Congress APC Youth Leader in Nigeria. You're most welcome. And now we go on to the panel session. This will be moderated by my colleague, and truly we have talked about the power of the media and how we play a critical role in shaping Africa's story. And so he's a man who does a lot when it comes to shaping the positivity despite harsh economic realities, not just in Nigeria, but the African continent, and pushing Africa to be on the global map when we talk about the future. He's going to be moderating the session and introducing his panel. Please let's make welcome Rotus Odiri, Arise News anchor.
Thank you so much, Ayo. Ayo and I worked together on radio. We're now working together on television. Ayo, you're amazing. Not just because we work together. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to be here. A big thanks to, of course, the 21st Olu of Warri Kingdom and His Royal Majesty and Her Royal Majesty, Queen Consort, of course, for putting together this fantastic conference. Thank you so much. It's been robust conversations here. So we're going to be talking about trade. I know there was a trade conversation yesterday, but we are digging a little deeper on trade. We're going to be talking about harnessing the digital technology in order to make trade more seamless. So basically, this is a technology adoption conversation. And as you know, trade is the lifeblood of an economy. You have to sell stuff to other countries in order for you to be able to bring in foreign exchange. If you remember the GDP equation, consumption plus government spending, plus investment, plus net exports. And your net exports is your exports minus your imports. That is part of what makes your output. So we've got some great panelists with us that we're going to be discussing this. I'm going to be introducing them one after the other. First off, from Ghana, please a warm welcome to Salom Kofi Dake. He is a former trade advisor to the British High Commission in Ghana. He is now, of course, the director for Africa at the China Arab Africa Business Union. He's also a consultant for FDI and international business for the ECOWAS region. So really looking forward to hearing his thoughts. Next up, yes, thank you so much. Next up, a warm round of applause for Dr. Olori Boyaja. In fact, when I saw Olori, I thought it was going to be Her Royal Majesty joining us on the panel. But Dr. Olori Boy Ajayi, Managing Partner, Borderless Trade and Investments. So she's also on the panel with us as well. Next up is Dr. Sumi Smart Francis. He is Nigeria's first honoring Doctor of Entrepreneurship awarded by TBU University in Brooklyn in the United States. He's the president of the largest entrepreneurship organization in Africa. And also, he works with subnationals. He's a special advisor on entrepreneurship and innovation to the Ondo State government. So you're very, very welcome, sir. And last, and certainly not least, from South Africa, Dr. Cleo Anastasia Johnson. She's the founder of Nucleo. She's a multi-award winning businesswoman, also in charge of the tourism working group for BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, WB, and also involved in branding strategy, hospitality, and technology. So this is our panel, and we're about to get started. All right. So we'll start from you. Essentially, in your respective fields that you all practice currently, what does digitization of trade mean to each of you, or even commerce? I'm going to start.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Before I go on to digitization, trade in Africa, as we know, intra-Africa trade is hovering around 15%. We trade with Europe around 40%, with China around 41, 42%. That is a picture we have to consider if we are to have a meaningful conversation on how we can develop our continent through trade. If we are trading among ourselves at only 15% and over 70% is with outside regions or countries, it means we are not doing well enough. So digitization must help unlock these opportunities. Digitization is only effective if it helps us to address these bottlenecks and the barriers to trade. If it doesn't, then we'll be taxing around in a cycle and will not be making any progress. Look at these statistics again. Africa has a population of about 1.4 billion. Combined GDP of Africa is about $3.3 trillion. Combined GDP of 55 countries in Africa, about $3.3 trillion. India has a population of about 1.4 billion. Similar to us. Their GDP is about 4 trillion, the last time I checked, if it has changed. About $4 trillion. America is hitting close to $28 trillion. China, with a population 1.5 billion, like us, their GDP is over $20 trillion now. So if we put these things into context, what are we digitizing? So we have to address some fundamental issues first. What are we producing? What are we selling to the world? Ghana, Ivory Coast produce the best of cocoa beans. If we add our African brothers and sisters in the Latin America and the Caribbean, like Colombia and co, it means we dominate over 80% of cocoa production. But we export the cocoa beans raw, and we import chocolate and the likes, 3-4 times the price. So how are we going to leverage on technology to improve our cocoa farming methods How can we leverage on technology to add value to our cocoa beans at competitive price? How can we leverage on technology to create e-commerce platforms and trading platforms that will enable trade among African countries, so that if Uganda, they don't eat snails in Uganda. I know that for a fact. But snail is a delicacy in Ghana and Nigeria. But there's no platform, digital platform, where producers talk to each other, buyers talk to each other. So to me, digitization must help us address the bottlenecks and the barriers to trade. Until we do that, we are not going to make any meaningful progress. This is my introduction for now. Thank you very much.
Well said. Very, very, very honest. Dr. Lori, in your field, how do you see digitization?
All right. Thank you. I'd first like to thank His Royal Majesty Ogame. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And Her Royal Majesty Olori, thank you so much. She's the real Olori. Mine's a name. Okay. But so I'm going to come from the employment angle, and I'm going to bring it also to trade growth. But I'd like to use a story because I think it's in those stories that we will actually see what's really happening. And it's of a young lady in Kenya, Nelly Cheboy, that's her name. And she's the CEO of TechLit Africa. What they do is very simple. They're based out of rural Kenya. And what they help the rural primary schools there to do is to, build skills, get them on capacity building to code, learn how to code, and different things like that. Now, when they are done with these students, by the way, they're in 9 counties in rural Kenya. They offer this service to about 24 primary schools, 6,000 students. All those students, as soon as they are done, they literally are now on the market for employment because they are now software engineers that can offer the services from rural Kenya to anywhere in the world. So we're seeing a lot of ties between digital transformation and how that's helping us as a continent to be able to say, what is helping us drive growth? And it's actually digitalization. And so we can't really overemphasize what this is doing for us as a continent, because how many people can really japa? You know what I mean? Some people would not have that chance in rural Kenya, for example. So I personally see digitalization helping us in the area of employment, providing that. And I don't know if you heard about the Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry. She announced yesterday the National Employment Talent Program, which basically, is going to help about 329 Nigerians to start offering their services abroad in Kuwait. This is part of what digitalization can do. So for me, it's a no-brainer that we have to incorporate digital transformation as a continent.
Thank you so much. Dr. Somi Francis, well, what are your thoughts? You deal with young entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So just before I start as well, I want to say my highest respect to the royal families. Thank you for the invitation. And to all dignitaries here present today, it's such a privilege to be amongst you all. Thank you very much. To all delegates, we are already elevating Africa with your presence here today. Thank you. Now, I want to go practical because when you look at it, we all know digitalization, digital platforms, e-commerce. But one major thing that affects everything, mobile payments. How do they even make these payments? How do they do these transactions? And that infrastructure is quite relevant. I'm very happy that a lot of entrepreneurs are inventing so many innovations to address that. But now let's look at the practicality of life itself. Beyond all the infrastructures and the technologies that we design, there is one major infrastructure that we must consider and talk about here, and that's trust. Trust. We're talking about Africa to Africa, my dear brothers and sisters. To even buy and sell between Abuja and Lagos is difficult. The buyer will say, send money first. The seller will say, you to send the goods. Now they're laughing. You understand, Abby? I have showed you on WhatsApp. Pay now, you to send it, because there is no trust. So when there is no trust, just within Nigeria here, how do we then undo Nigeria, Gabon, Sierra Leone, Congo? Now, trust is the major element for trade to happen, and is the biggest infrastructure that we are lacking in Africa today. And a former president had a conversation with me. We were having a good time, and he said, in our days, the cocoa farmer will put the cocoa here. The yam farmer will drop the yam. Mommy, I know you know about those days. They will drop the plantain here, and they will go home. And the buyer will come, take the rice, and put the money. Take the yam and put the money. In our generation, mommy, the buyer does not need to come. The yam farmer will look at the cocoa and pack everything. There's no trust anymore. And it's a very major thing we need to talk about, because in our generation, everything is a scam. Any good thing you see is a scam. Anything you don't understand is a scam. We need to address that, because it's affecting transactions to happen. Now, listen very carefully. A person who cannot trust should not be trusted. That is the first thing. So before you even ask for trust, have you trusted someone before? Before you even validate somebody's trust, give it out first and see if that person is trustworthy. Now, we're speaking about trustworthiness. What you must have as entrepreneurs in Africa is to be trustworthy. Don't let your word be your bond. At least let's start from there. When you tell your client Wednesday, let Wednesday be Wednesday. When we tell your clients next week, don't change on that date. If we are able to handle these little things, we'll be able to handle the big things. Going back to your bond, one day my driver was having an argument. I came up from the back and I was, what's happening? Him and the mechanic was arguing. I like, what happened? And the mechanic said, hey, I've finished the car. By God's grace, it will work. I said, God punish you and your God's grace there. Stop abusing God's grace for little things. God is not a mechanic. Please, let's be real here. We don't need God's grace to fix cars. A Chinese will come and fix your car and tell you 3 years guarantee. A Nigerian will fix it to an African and say, by God's grace, it will work. What is that? Let's stop doing all those things. It's very important that when you give a product, validate the product as your word, your bond. This thing will work. If it doesn't work, call me back and we'll come and fix it. So I just want to highlight that part as well, that it's extremely important that we make our word our bond. I was with the church one day where I was speaking, and the pastor said, let's pray for our leaders, that God will give them the brain to lead us right. I didn't pray, because I don't need God to give us leaders that we give brain. I need leaders that has brain already to be there. So let's be careful of how we use this. God should come and give us leaders. God should come and give us trust. And let's start living in a trusted Africa. When there is trust, all these platforms that we are designing will work effectively. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So you're saying that you should trust someone enough to give them your goods, that they will pay for it. Is that right?
Honestly speaking, it's so hard to believe that he that cannot trust should never be trusted. You have to give trust.
So that's risk management. I think it's also probably a good idea to talk about insurance, just in case your goods don't get paid for, so that something happens, you can get that covered. Yeah, I think that's a good idea as well. Talk about insurance too.
Of course, as a businessman, you should know all that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sumi. Fantastic. Dr. Cleo Johnson, you're in the hospitality sector. You're a consultant. You're on a number of platforms. Can you also talk about what digitization means to you in your field?
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. I just also want to just extend my thanks to the Majesties for having us here today and for creating this platform. So from a hospitality and tourism aspect, I will say digitization gives us a fighting chance. A lot of our businesses a fighting chance from a global scale, and also just to drive money back into our economies. And I say this because if I work with a lot of hotels and a lot of what we will call mom and pop shops. So again, your mother or father might have a guest house or a lodge. So I try to, as much as I work with international brands, I do try to work with boutique hotels, independent hotels. And so when we talk about digitization, we look at providing efficiencies in service. Number one, we look at reducing costs and operations by implementing these technologies. So my company comes in and we either build or improve your technologies, your digital infrastructure. Right. And then over and above that, and why it also ties so perfectly in with the mission of Elevate Africa, is that through branding and marketing, we get to tell your stories on a global scale through technology, through the data we're able to harness to be able to say, you know what, we can acquire guests from America, UAE, to be able to come to your properties. And because of the unique stories we have in Africa, that is what we are using to bring money into the continent. So many of our countries and economies rely so heavily on tourism, but it is one of the sectors that is so heavily neglected. And it's something where I feel like digital transformation as well can actually bridge that gap for a lot of us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Now, I want to piggyback on something you just said. The fact that you were talking about using technology to reduce costs. Dr. Somi also talked about, that example of the buyer and seller talking on WhatsApp. I want to start coming back to the beginning again. On the the transition from paper documentation to non-paper documentation. Simple example for anyone who has visited a business, whether it's in Lagos or Abuja, the security guards will bring out this giant notebook, take a ruler and start making columns on the paper and then ask you to write your name, where you're from, who you're seeing, what the purpose is. They'll take your serial number. It is an incredibly annual process. I can, in a calendar year, how many notebooks they go through. Or if one of you visited a business in 2003 on a particular month, can they go back and get back that record? So in your fields, are you seeing enough of a transition from paper documentation to non-paper? And this is, it feeds into trade, but even in everyday businesses as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to narrow down to SMEs, small and medium enterprises. We know that so many SMEs don't survive the first 3 years of business. Even if they do, they have a lot of challenges with access to finance and affordability of capital. Why does that happen? It boils down to the lack of proper record keeping. So we need to start training and educating our small businesses to adopt technologies, digital technologies, to do proper bookkeeping. There are QuickBooks, there are ERPs now available, and there are so many young innovators across Africa now who are developing simple bookkeeping solutions. You don't need to go and buy the most expensive ones. So if we begin to adopt more and more of these technologies, and our SMEs are able to record their sales, they are able to record, they are able to keep track of their working capital, they are able to keep track of inventory, they are able to do digital advertising and marketing, they are able to build a better profile. As my brother said, trust between the small businesses, the medium enterprises, and the banks, who will lend them the capital to upscale their businesses. So I see digitization playing a key role in improving our SMEs so that they will be able to be more profitable and even more efficient to make a bigger contribution to our respective economies. Thank you very much.
Dr. Lori, your take
Yeah.
on the transition.
I think we're getting to a good point, obviously, with the AFCFTA. A lot of things have to be digitized because it's not something we can do manually anymore. And I'll give a real issue because I think sometimes when we say paperless, do you remember in Nigeria when they said we should go cashless? Did it really work? Because a lot of us, a lot of Africans, we ourselves don't adopt the things that are good for us sometimes. And in the paperless transactions that, whether the customs, whether it's those at the border who are supposed to make trade easier, you find out that paperless should work, but they will not use it. So it's one thing to have it, but will it be adopted by the people that we actually put in those areas? So I remember in 2017 or thereabouts, I went to the border. They seized my car. I ended up having to get a public transport back to Lagos from Seme because the people there just wanted bribe. So we see that, yes, paperless is good, but the people who have to travel cross border to get goods, raw materials, or whatever the case, that the custom agents and those in that in the law enforcement agencies, are they doing what they are supposed to? So in theory, it sounds good, but I'm not sure whether practically we're getting anywhere close to actually seeing a paperless trade flow. Yeah.
That's an issue. Dr. Somi, you deal with a lot of young entrepreneurs. Are you seeing them adopting more paperless transactions as they carry out their business?
I think I'm going to leave the entrepreneurs here and wear my other cap. I've got a couple of caps. President of Africa's Young Entrepreneurs, also special advisor to the Ondo State Governor, and chairman of the first entrepreneurship agency in Nigeria, Ondia. Now, let's go into government. I love the fact that you said it's really, you're fighting against it. When I got into government, practical, I was surprised about the numbers of memos that would come through the chain of my directors before it gets to me. And I'm like, what is this? They're like, no, it's the way it's working. That's been working since the day of Lord Lugard. This is the way we are going to be doing it. I'm like, doesn't make sense. Now I understand why you will send something to an agency of government and it will take about 6 months for them to reply. And I told them it can't work like this. They're like, no, it has been happening like this. I said, never. And this is one thing I want to tell you entrepreneurs. Africans, elevate Africa here. You got to fight for it. One of the major things about good is that we are too quiet. Good is too quiet. A bad will come in here and bad is loud. Hey, you will know this is an area boy. But good, you are too quiet. And that was why Jesus was crucified. They asked Jesus or Barnabas. Good was quiet. They chose Barnabas. Are you following me here? You've got to fight for it in your agencies, in your companies, in your institution. I told them never. This can never happen. 6 months, 3 months for a reply to go out. And they said, no, it's going to happen like that. I said, I will give you technology. We brought in some technology for them. And you know them, my directors. Of course, they've heard me tell these stories every time. So they're not going to feel bad about it now. And they're like, no, we can't use these technologies. It's too complicated. I said, okay, if that's the case, we'll create a WhatsApp group. Simplify it for everybody. Put all my directors in that WhatsApp group. When the memo comes, drop it in the WhatsApp group. All of you, authorize it. Even if you are not there or not, authorize. I will authorize if I'm not around. When I come, I will come and sign. I tell you today, Ondia is one of the agencies in Nigeria. 24 hours, you get your reply. 24 hours. So we got to fight these things. And sometimes we start from simple things. Simplify the technology. This also goes out to many of you. One of my mentees came and he did one beautiful website. And I'm checking. I say, where is contact us? Where's have you tried going to visit some site and you're like, where's your contact us? I just want to buy and call. You have used technology to over design the website and you cannot even do the simple things. Maybe I should share this with you. As a speaker, one of the things we look forward to is the luxury hotel that comes with when we travel. So it's part of my collections over the years. I go to all those luxury hotels and have a good time. Now, one of these days I flew to this country, extremely cold. You know those kind of cold that your blood has frozen. So yes, I was just waiting for them to pick me up. And when they picked me up, I was waiting for the hotel. Oh my God, you should see this hotel. Till today, the best I've ever seen in my life. I was just ready. You know those hotels whereby they're ready for you and they just took me up. So just go out because it's cold. My blood is already frozen. The city was so cold. And all I wanted was a hot shower. Just, we all do it. Just pour that hot water so that it can dissolve your ice in your body. And I was just looking for it. I'm like, okay, thank you very much. Just go out so I can shower. Next thing, ladies and gentlemen, ripped off my shirt, ripped off my pants, got into the shower. Which one is the on and off here? Has it happened to you before? Where is on, off? Which one? So I was trying all the buttons, trying all of them one by one. Lo and behold, what poured out? Cold water. You can imagine how cold that water would be in such a city. I was screaming, oh my God, what is happening here? The story has not ended. Keep it simple, ladies and gentlemen. As I came out of the shower, rushing out to try and get a towel, automated towel again. It has to dispense it. I was waving. The towel is not coming out. For God's sake, I am dying. I'm fevering. What is happening? Towel, come out now. What is happening? Towel. I rushed out to try and call the reception that, please, can somebody just bring normal towel? I'm tired of technology. I got there. I could not find the phone. Which kind of hotel will not have a phone? There must be a phone somewhere. I was looking for everything. Press this one, touch this one. Where is the phone? And I saw something that looks like a pen. This is the phone. Phone? Where is zero? Let me call reception. No zero. All I wanted was zero. All I wanted was a towel. Ladies and gentlemen, the hotel that was supposed to give me the best time of my life, give me the horrible time of my life. Simplify everything. Some of the time. That is why the technology that you introduce government officials to, entrepreneurs to, try and simplify it so that they can follow it. There's a reason why 1.0 came out before 2.0. There's 16.0, but they've not given us because it will scatter our head. Simplify technology. Thank you very much.
Dr. Sorry, wait. I have to follow up. If it just is that story you just told, is that not an illustration of the gap in development between us and other countries? Because a resident of that nation is already used to that technology and won't have the issues you had. But is that an argument there or no?
I must tell you that every one of them must have gone through the same thing I went through. First, somebody must have showed them where the zero is or where the
Great-
tower is.
great
Imagine me
point.
running that room naked, but don't imagine too much, eh? And looking for zero. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Cleo, you are a consultant for a hotel, so maybe you can make some notes here. But again, your thoughts. Essentially, we're still talking about the paperless transition and going from paper to electronic documentation. But feel free to chime in if you want to, since you handle hotels.
So funny enough, I was actually part of the opening team for the first digitized hotel in Africa in 2017. And I loved what my panelists mentioned. A lot of them spoke about adoption. And I think one thing we fail to understand is the African people. We are about community. We are about this, right? And here we implemented a hotel, has a robot, has like self-check-in. There was no need for staff. Everything was automated. Also didn't have room phones. Nothing. There was a QR code. It was like a ghost hotel, basically. Needless to say, 4 days later, we had to hire reception staff. People were complaining because they are used to seeing this interaction. So as a business as well, as much as you have a chatbot and automated systems, people love chatting to people. That is how you do business. You build relationships. So there's that element. And I know there's always this controversy around, oh, AI is going to take our jobs. Oh, sorry, my bad. That AI is going to take our jobs. You know what? One, learn to leverage AI. Two, your job role is going to change. It is not that it's going to take your job, but those that fail to adopt AI, you will not have a job. So there's that. And then going on to digitization, and I love what he mentioned also by simplifying things. So what my company also did was the fact that, so we have a business partner called 50Pay in South Africa. So they leverage existing technologies, and I work with a lot of entrepreneurs as well. And I always say this because everybody comes to me in, a pitching battle, and I want to create an app, and I want to roll my eyes because not everything has to be an app. And I say this because you can leverage existing technology. And I'm going to tell you what we did. So because in the township economy, and I'm assuming it's maybe the same here, a lot of business and transactions happen over WhatsApp, correct? So what we did was initially we had the platform. It's an e-commerce, chat commerce platform for the township economy where you are able to facilitate in-app payments. We're not worried about M-Pesa. You can pay with card, you can pay with cash. We even have Uber drivers connected to the WhatsApp chatbot. So we are also working on collaboration. So that is another thing as well. Do not think that your MVP needs to cost you millions in order to put it out into the world. Trust me, through collaboration, I was able to develop my chatbot without a single cent leaving my pocket because of collaboration. So with that, I also just want to say, so we were able to simplify the chatbot in the sense that we spoke to me. So as much as it was addressed for the township economy, we flipped it for hospitality. We are able to put your room directory. So we've saved you printing costs. It's on the chatbot. We are able to do essentially an instant messenger so that obviously people who are checking in guests, they have time to spend time with you instead of picking up a phone and not really interacting with the guests. Then we are able to ensure that you actually are bookable and discoverable. That is a big thing when it comes to tourism and hospitality. Are you bookable and discoverable at the end of the day? So we facilitate that. There is no cost to the end user. We just charge transaction fees. Because at the end of the day, we cannot still charge more money for people to enter the tech space. It is way too expensive at the moment. And you've got so many international conglomerates that are coming in with hospitality technology that the small mom and pop shops cannot afford. So how are we bringing them into the 21st century when they are forced to fork out their life savings just to accommodate a guest? So again, and I want to say this as well, just for entrepreneurs, we speak so much about going overseas and, working there. Learn what you need to and come back here. The opportunities are here. And I will say this because I have traveled. My heart is in Africa and it will stay here because there are more than enough things that we can solve with our own solutions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Look, I thought we had an hour. Unfortunately, we've only got 3 minutes left. I wanted to talk about currencies, payments, and so on, but we have to skip right to the end. So just closing thoughts from each of you. Are you optimistic about digitization and tech adoption on the African continent? Do you think it is something that within the next 5-10 years we will get to that hotel with their fancy stuff, or do we still have a long way to go? So only got less than 3 minutes. If you can each quickly just give us your summary.
Thank you. I believe the way we transition from analog phones to Android phones and co, we will surely survive this one too. My advice is we should all prepare. We should get training. We should set up innovation hubs, technology hubs to train the youth of Africa, because 60% of our population are youthful. And I want to thank His Royal Majesty, the Olu of Warri, and Her Royal Majesty, the Olori of Warri, for making this platform possible. Let us elevate our unity. Let us elevate our conversation. Let us elevate our capacity, and let us elevate Africa together. Thank you very much.
All right. So I just have two things that I want to leave us with, and I think it's a question. The first one is a question that if we were to have another pandemic as Africans, will your business be safe? And guess what? There might be another one very soon. It may not take the form of what we had before, but there might be another one. How bulletproof is your business against another pandemic that might shut things down, sort of on the manual level? So that's the first question I'd like to ask. The second thing I'd leave us with is, this issue of technology and adopting it and things like that. I think we make it look like a choice. If we keep saying 1 in 4 people in the world will be Africans by 2030, in my mind, I'm like, but are they tech savvy Africans? You can be 1 in 4, but if you're 1 in 4 disadvantaged, then you are literally going to be at the end of that ladder. So it's good to keep saying we're a young continent and we'll be, all of that. But our young people, are they tech savvy? I hire a lot of young people, and I tell you the amount of work I have to do to get them to a point where they are delivering bare minimum. You'll be surprised. And it's frustrating because when you as the CEO feel like your people that you're working with are not up to par, then imagine them going abroad. I don't even understand the Japa thing, because when they go, they are going to feel like, I don't even know what the word is, right? So it's just a word of advice, but please don't take this as a choice. We have to be tech savvy as a continent, because we are going to boom by 2050. But at what point do we say that our people will no longer be at the bottom of the pyramid? So I think Elevate Africa is doing an amazing work, and the Africa we see is tech savvy.
Thank you so much. Dr. Somi.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for the beautiful moderation. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Elevate Africa, my closing words are for you. The simple things. That's how to elevate Africa, with the small things. Let's start with that first. When you want to handle the big things, start with the smallest things. Like throwing the trash in the bin. Very important. That you drive on your lane. That you tell your driver to stop overspeeding. Tell them to stop being rash and loud unnecessarily. Before we start fighting for trade agreements and contract and technology, our social well-being, let's be the right people. When we do that, Africa becomes attractive and very sellable. Very important. Secondly, my message are for the diasporans, our African brothers and sisters that are out there. There's a huge population of African diaspora. I don't know if you've noticed them. It's like they want Africa to fail. They start asking, Third Milan Bridge, is there riots there? They follow the news more than you. Not that they want the good news. They just want to say, we're right, Nigeria will explode. Do you notice those kind of people? Wherever you are, if you're watching online, Nigeria will not explode. Africa will not explode. I'm so passionate about this continent. I wear it on the chest of my heart as a symbol of Africa, my passion for this continent. Listen very carefully. You're missing out. I don't know where your streamline camera is. I've been looking for it because I'm talking to those ones online. You're missing out. Yes, I'm talking to you. You are really missing out. And I'll tell you this. Lemon is not a fruit that I like. It's very bitter. As a child, I don't know who put it in my mouth. I didn't like the taste. So since then, I was lemon phobic. Until I bought my first property in life and I found a lemon tree there. And as I was checking, a lemon tree, I was so proud of a tree in my land. And I opened that lemon tree, I opened the fruit rather. I tasted it and that lemon tasted sweet. You know why? Listen carefully. Investment is like farming. There is no better feeling than harvesting from your own land. Come back home and invest. It will taste better than what is tasting that side. As I round up, let's continue elevating Africa. I'm so proud because this year Africa is hosting the Global Entrepreneurship Festival, the biggest entrepreneurship event in the world. Now, we have a lot of foreigners that have engaged. They are happy. They're coming to buy their tickets. But we see Nigerians saying, oh, that place is far. Why is it not Lagos? Why is it not Abuja? Listen carefully. Nowhere is far. It depends on what you are doing there. So please, let's keep elevating Africa with our projects and our platforms. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Somi. Dr. Cleo, you get the last word. Thank you.
So just to answer your question, COVID really, as devastating as it was, it obviously sped up our technological adoption. But I would like to speak to the women in the room and those that are not yet in business. I have something called a digital internship program that addresses the gender wage gap. Please work on your digital literacy if you want to have a fighting chance in the economy. And I say this because we'll open doors. For those of you that are entrepreneurs as well, technology has allowed us to bootstrap and open our businesses a lot cheaply than what we did a couple of years ago. So that is just my closing remarks. It's just tips and recommendations, but thank you so much.
A round of applause for our awesome panelists. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much. Great conversation. Thank you.
Well, the panel will now take a group picture. Let's clap for them, please. Panelists, just try and smile. Thank you very much. Thank you. Another round of applause as they leave to their seats. Thank you very much, our moderator, for doing a good job. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, very quickly, we'll bring up a business expert, a business consultant, leadership expert and coach, politician, motivational speaker, and president of the Gemstone Nation, and senior special assistant to the president on national values and social justice administration, to do for us a goodwill message. Please put your hands together as I welcome Mr. Fela Durotoye. Please put your hands together for him. Please, can we clap some more for him as he comes out? We will take a moment to do a short goodwill message, and immediately after that, we'll be going into our further discussions. Please, once more, let's welcome Dr. Fela Durotoye. Please clap for him, clap for him. We had a little technological delay.
Let me start by thanking on behalf of a generation. I'm not speaking as a person, not speaking as a man, or I'm speaking as on behalf of a generation of Africans who are going to change and shape the narrative of Africa. And I want to say thank you to His Royal Majesty, the Ogiame Atuashe, the third CFR, Oluwabori, and our delectable Oluri Atuashe III, the Queen Consort of the Warri Kingdom. We want to thank you on behalf of the generation for giving us a platform to come together as one people, to speak with one voice, so that we can have a clear vision and act with one purpose. We've been told by the Holy Scriptures that it is only then that nothing is impossible for us. Because the African story has been almost an impossible story to explain. How can a blessed continent have such poor people? What is most difficult about this conversation is that it's a perennial conversation. It's lasted more than one generation. And so I believe that finally a generation is arising that has the right platform to come together and speak, like I said, with one voice. I don't know if my slide is up and ready. Let me add to our thanks. A very good afternoon to all our distinguished guests, distinguished delegates. Is it okay for me to please ask you to appreciate the person that is seated right next to you? And please tell them that history is in the making. Permit me to start by saying that history is not just the things that happened in the past. History is everything that shaped the future. History are the key events, conversations, decisions that changed the past and opened the door to the future. So it's not everywhere you've gone to that is historical. It's not everyone that you've met that is historical. It's not every decision that you've taken that is historical. But one thing is for sure. There are certain decisions, places, people that you've met and contacted that essentially you can't tell the story of how you've come about without referring to those moments. Interestingly, on the day that history will take place, most of the time the sun does not come out any earlier than usual. The sky is not a different color from blue. It is usually the future that tells exactly what happened in the past that was historic. Let me just put that into context. Please understand that the future is not a time zone that is yet to be revealed. The future is not a date on a calendar that is yet to be seen. The future is everything we can be but have not yet become. The future is everything we can do but have not yet done. The future is everything we can have but have not yet possessed. Please understand. What we are doing here is we are birthing and delivering the future. Why? Because the future is not ahead of us, the future is inside of us. And so I think I can see my slide there. Can it come up? Let me quickly just, I can see the slide there. Whatever slide is there, is it possible to be shown on screen? 1 minute? Okay. Well, what I'm about to show you is a historic moment in time. Sometime in November 1883, 27 men gathered together in a hotel in Berlin. Many of you have heard, if you are students of history, you've heard about that particular conference where a map of a continent was placed on a wall. And 3 months locked up in that hotel, they began to negotiate what we now know as the partitioning of the African continent. What is so amazing to me is that these were people who came from different countries. These were 27 men who had a belief that nothing was impossible to them. Between the 15th of November 1884 and 26th of February 1885, these 27 men gathered together and showed up and had this map on the wall. Now, at that point in time, one would have said, how dare you think that you can go into a land that is not your city? It's not your county. It's not even your country. This is a continent. And yet these different guys from, next slide, please, from these different countries, Germany, United Kingdom, Britain, France, Belgium, all of these guys left after 3 months, and within 15 years, all right, fantastic. Within 15 months, they had taken over the African continent, at least the administration of much of the African continent. Why? When the question arose, how are we going to get it done? The answer was very simple. If as one people, can somebody please say with me one people? Speaking with one voice, can we say one voice? And having one vision, is it okay for you to say one vision? And a very clear goal. What did we say together? We're told that nothing will be impossible for them. Well, yes, they did it. The British, the French, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Belgians, Germans, Italians, and even the Americans came together, and within, listen to this, 30 years from that, they had colonized the African continent. Exactly as they said they would. Remember that they were speaking different languages, but they spoke with one voice. Different languages, one voice. Watch this. 15 years later, in 1945, 78 young African leaders, but really, when you think about them, they were boys and girls, gathered together in a hotel somewhere in the United Kingdom. And this particular meeting was called the Fifth Pan-African Congress meeting. And what happened was these guys came and said, listen, we were born as second-class citizens in our own country, but we have to find a common purpose. And our purpose is to give to our children a better continent than the one that we were born in. These young guys did not have economic power. In that room, someone like Chief Obafemi Awolowo, but he wasn't chief at that time. He was just Obafemi Jeremiah Awolowo. And in 1945, he was 36 years old. He was in his penultimate year as a law student. So you can imagine a law student sitting down with Kwame Nkrumah, who was also another student at that time, and they were not thinking about how they were going to get a job. What they were thinking about was how they were going to save a continent. Well, within 15 years, once again, these young men and women, Julius Nyerere was there, Kwame Nkrumah was there, Jomo Kenyatta was in that room, from different countries, speaking really different languages, but they spoke with one voice and acted as one people. They came up with the Fifth Pan-African Congress Agreement, and listen to this, within 30 years, by 1977, 50 of the African countries had attained independence because 79 people came together as one people, not Ghanaian, not Nigerian, not Togolese, not Kenyan. They came together as one people, African. Can somebody say with me one people? Say with me one voice. Say with me one vision. What would you say last? All right, then nothing is impossible. Every time we can be one people, we realize that the impossibility is nothing but a figment of our mind's imagination. To those who choose to live within the borders of the current reality, things that seem to be outside our norm is impossible. But I need you to please understand, impossibility is an illusion. It doesn't exist. It just takes us to be able to say we can create a new future. I love the way that Nelson Mandela said, it said, sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great. He says, yours can be that great generation, but you must let your greatness blossom. In other words, whilst destiny and providence may choose an assignment for your generation, it's still up to your generation to accept responsibility to deliver on it. As one people, speaking with one voice, acting with one purpose and one vision, and running after one goal. That generation I spoke to you about was called the generation of liberation. It was the generation that had as one people, Africans, speaking with one voice, the Pan-African movement. They had a vision of independence in all of those African states, and the goal was to be able to have self-governance. The question is, what is our generation's vision? What is our generation's goal? Who's going to bring us together from across borders that have been created by visitors to our continent? Who's going to bring us together to get us to speak with one voice, louder than the tribe and tongues that we have been accustomed to? That we are indeed more than just a Yoruba or Shakiri or Uropo or Ijo or Fulani, or that we are beyond the different tribes of the African continent. We are one people. Somebody please say with me, one people. Let me tell you when people come together, what they can accomplish. In 1990, and most of you were already alive at this time, this was Sheikh Zayed Road, the most prominent road in a town city or a nation city called Dubai. And this is the Dubai World Trade Center building, 38-story buildings high, or 38 floors high. Within 13 years, this is what one people, speaking with one voice, acting with one goal and one vision can do. Just so that you can put it in context, this is the same building that happened. The question is, where were all these buildings 13 years before? They were in the mind of a generation that had not yet accepted responsibility. The moment they accepted responsibility, they released their possibilities into reality. Does somebody understand where I'm coming from? This is what it looks like now. This is what a generation can do. That's not, we have examples all over. On the 9th of August, 1965, this was the Independence Day of Singapore. Everybody was, celebrating independence. And so they took a picture of the city-state from this angle. And within one generation, they came back to the exact geographic coordinates, the same exact coordinates, to take another picture. One generation. And this was what they had done. You understand what I'm trying to say? There is nothing that is impossible when we can act as one people, when we can come together with one identity, when we can speak with one voice, regardless of which language we are speaking with, when we can act with one vision, and when we can set a common goal, regardless of what it is that we're doing. Now, let me close with this. In 1885, 27 people left a room where they had come up with an agreement. But it wasn't that agreement that changed Africa. It was the fact that they went on and they followed up. Each one of them went to do what they agreed they were going to do. In 1945, on October 22, 79 people had left that hotel in Manchester. What changed their lot was not just the agreement, it was the follow-up. I'm challenging those in this room to not just be hearers, but doers. I believe that history is beckoning on us to be able to change a future that we all have as one people, speaking with one voice, acting with one picture of great success for our generation. And whilst the last generation was called the generation of liberation, may I suggest to you what our own generation is? We are the generation of transformation. We are the generation that will bring about a different Africa from the one that we inherited from our parents. Because in the end, no generation is ever judged by what kind of situation and condition it inherited from its parents. But every generation will be judged by what it bequeaths to its own children. It's time for us as one people with one voice, one purpose, to arise from this conference, thankful for the platform, and let us go and change and transform Africa. God bless you. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow. Wow. What a charge. If you belong to the generation of transformation, can I hear you make some noise? It's no longer Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Y, it's Gen Transformation. That's who we belong to, and that's the generation we belong to. The next generation will not ask us questions like, what did you do? Why are we still here? Why haven't we moved forward? The next generation will thank Generation Transformation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, Your Royal Majesties, I'm sure you'd agree with me that the first session of day 2 of Elevate Africa, the convening, has been nothing short of powerful. From the very first speech, up until this last one, you've had really, really great things to think about. And we are now going to take the conversation further, and this time in smaller groups. Don't forget what Mr. Drotoye said was that what made the difference at that Berlin meeting was that they went out and they took action. And that's why yesterday Olori had said that it's not just a movement, it's a call to action. And so even if we speak from now or we have had so many deliberations from yesterday up until today, if we do not go out and take action, then unfortunately we wouldn't have achieved a lot. But I do believe that we have action men and women in the hall this afternoon, isn't it? Can I hear you make some noise with a lot of energy and action? No, this sound does not sound like people who want to take action yet. Can I hear you make some noise? With a lot of energy and action. Thank you so much. We're going to take a quick, we're going to merge two activities at the moment. We have a tea break, but we also have a very important breakout session. We're going to go into 3 breakout sessions, which will be happening simultaneously. And what we'd like to ask you is to please, when you move out to the corridor where tea and light refreshment is being served, that you take your tea, coffee, drink, refreshment, and head to your breakout room, because we're starting that immediately, just so that we're able to maximize the time that we have. I'll introduce the breakout session and I'll let you know where each of them are happening so you can pick whichever one you want to attend, whichever one resonates with you, whichever one you identify with. All right, the first breakout session is going to be facilitated by Mr. Fela Durotoye, whom we just heard speaking, founder, CEO, Gemstone Group, and will be moderated by Femi Taiwo, founding partner, FIT Africa. And there they're going to be looking at elevating leadership through community engagement and empowering youth as agents of change. This is going to be happening at the lobby downstairs. Once you walk out the door, you would see signage to lead you to the breakout room. The second breakout room is going to be happening at the same time, and the topic is elevating community-centered collaboration, empowering grassroots leadership for an inclusively developed Africa. That will be facilitated by Honorable Dayo Israel, National All Progressives Congress APC youth leader here in Nigeria, and will be moderated by Princess Agumbiade, founder of the Princess Agumbiade Foundation and special assistant to the Lagos State Governor on the Latif Jakonde Leadership Fellowship. He had spoken about that earlier on. And then the third breakout session, and that's going to be happening upstairs. So this is happening upstairs. The first is happening lobby downstairs, and the second upstairs. We have signs and we have ushers who will help, who can assist you if you need any more information. And the final breakout session 3, happening at the same time, is elevating Africa innovation, exploring digital solutions for inclusive trade expansion. We had a panel about digitalizing trade, and so this is a follow-up and a more robust conversation around that. And this will be facilitated by Africa's own Inyoluwa Aboyeji, OON, founding partner, Future Africa. So if you're looking to founding a unicorn company or two, maybe you should go to this one. Moderated by Mayowa Ali, co-founder Traction. That's going to also happen upstairs. So we have 2 breakout sessions happening upstairs and 1 in the lobby downstairs. Once we're done, we have 30 minutes for everything. So your tea and going into the breakout session. As you can tell, it's going to be very informative, very engaging. So we want to maximize that time. So we respectfully ask that once you grab your tea, coffee, drinks, refreshments, make your way straight to your room, and the breakout sessions will start immediately. You have 30 minutes. We're going to be back in the hall at 1:15 p.m. 1:15 p.m. We're going to be back here congregated 1:15 p.m. Thank you all very much. Have a great time at your breakout rooms. And when we come back, we'll come back with information so that every single person is aware of what's happened. Again, we're on Instagram at We Elevate Africa, on YouTube at Elevate Africa.